Okay, everyone, I want to make this really quick because it is my bedtime, and I have a lot of stuff going on. But I thought you would like to see all the books I read in spring, which is just March, April, May. That's how I divide that. I read 36 or 12 each month, actually worked out. I mean, I read more. I don't mark. Um, a lot of the stuff I read for like class, and most of the nonfiction I read, I don't really count. Um, if there's nonfiction in here, I mentioned that obviously. But so I'm going to go through these though. These are my stacks. I have 3 stacks next to me, and just talk a little bit about each book I read. What's weird is that normally it's the books that are at the very beginning of this, so like the beginning of March, are the ones I'd be reviewing now. But I'm still in February's books that I'm recording reviews for. So some of these have had video reviews, and if they have, it's either because I got arcs of them, so I tried to get them out sooner rather than later. Um, and that's about it, actually, really. So, or they were like new releases, and I felt like, oh, I should get this review out. Well, since the book just came out, type of thing. And that's actually the case with the first one. So I did not get an arc for this. That's The Fear of Moncroy, is how I was going to say it, by Brian Asher. So this review is up. As a fun vampire novel, very straightforward, very fun. Um, yeah, go watch my review. Same with this one, actually. The Druid's Call is a tie-in to the D&D movie that came out at the end of March. It's about Doric. Um, it's a coming of age. It's a YA novel, to be honest, so it's fine. And then I read my first Michael Chabon book, Gentleman of the Road. It is kind of a Fafhrd and Grey Mouse thing, but it's historical. Um, it's not fantasy at all, actually. It's about 2 Jews that are bandits, basically. Gentlemen of the Road, right? So this is fun. I really enjoy this. It's rather short, too, so pretty easy to get through. And then I read the Vikingale Saga by J.T.T. Ryder. The first sequel actually comes out in August, I believe. This is a really fun short novel. I think it's about 50,000 words. Some of you would call it a novella. And this is really fun. Also, a review out for this one. Yeah, fun. I got an arc for it digitally, and then I bought it physically. So this is a fun kind of YA. The main character is a teenager, but it's definitely more of an adult novel, I would say. I don't know. Yeah, I have a review. You can go listen to it. A Morbid Taste for Bones. There's a TV show based off this called Codville, or Codfale, I think is how they said it in the TV show. But Codville is a Welsh monk, yeah, in Abbey, and I think it's during the time of the Anarchy. That's what it is. And this is quite fun. Alice Peters, that's a pen name. I don't remember her actual name. I'm looking forward to reading more. Actually, I thought this was really fun. And it is about a murder. It's a murder mystery. I liked it a lot. So, and then there's another tie-in to the D&D movie that came out, The Road to Neverwinter. This one is more of a prequel to the movie, as it describes like the main characters besides Doric in the movie. It's by J.L.A. Johnson. I've actually read some books by her before, and I like her. So it was cool to get some Forgotten Realms stuff that wasn't written by R.A. Salvatore. Sadly, that doesn't happen anymore. Wizards. Anyways, here's one I read. It does not have a physical copy or physical release, at least not in English. Can't even see it. But it is Children of the Nameless. It's a Magic the Gathering novella by Brandon Sanderson. My first Brandon Sanderson thing I had read in over 2 years. I actually didn't really enjoy it. It's kind of disappointing. He just didn't write Gothic very well. It should have been Gothic. It's Gothic fiction. Anyways, it takes place on Innistrad for those curious. So, yeah, don't recommend it really. But what I do recommend is A Merchant Noria and Other Tales by David Wiley. This is not actually on my review list. I should do a review for this. My problem with reviewing for anthologies and magazines and stuff is I read them as short stories, and I don't review short stories. I talk about them, my weekly update. So I read these, and I didn't take any notes for a review. So I feel like David probably deserves a review. This is a great anthology. But I also want to do a good review for it. And if I went off basically my memory, if I went off my memory, then I wouldn't do a very good job, I don't think. So this is really fun, though. So, yeah. And then I read Day of the Long Sun by Gene Wolfe, book 3, and Book of the Long Sun. This one's really fun. It's actually quite slow compared to the other ones, which is interesting. But it's cool still because it is Gene Wolfe, Book of the Long Sun, even. Um, and then I read Night of the Long Knives by Fritz Leiber. It's my last Fritz Leiber book I've read. I need to read another one. This is a novella, actually. This is a post-apocalyptic kind of, I think they call it the Blacklands, if I'm remembering correctly. It takes like most of the central United States is like an atomic wasteland, basically. It's actually quite fun. It's rather wicked. So I like Leiber, though. And then before last was another great oldie, Paul Anderson's Three Hearts, Three Lions. This is the third novel I've read by Anderson. And I think it's my favorite. I liked it more than Broken Sword. I like the Broken Sword, don't get me wrong. I really like the Broken Sword. But this was just fun. It's about a guy going, it's kind of Portal fantasy. He's fighting Nazis, and then when he gets shot, he ends up in Fantasyland, basically. So it's pretty cool. And then the other one I read, again, I don't have a physical copy. I read this one for class. I didn't have to read it for class. I was doing a project. I was like, that's a good project to do. So I read Hidden Figures. I don't even remember. It's like Margot Shelley, I think, who wrote it. It's nonfiction, of course, biography about the three women from the movie. So, which is inaccurate, a decent amount of things I learned by reading that book. So, yeah, that is March, the 12th from March. And then April, first book I read was Residue by Steve Diamond. So I actually got this. I bought this book from Steve, well, at LTUE in February, and so I read this. And you can, I don't know, my thing is heavily saturated. Anyways, he signed it. There it is. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a YA like paranormal story, so definitely not what I normally read, but it was actually quite fun. I'm looking forward to the sequel. It actually comes out later this year, called Parasite. And then I read Half Human Heroes early, right, because it came out on Mother's Day. Half Human Heroes, edited by Jeremy Fee. I have a story in here. I have my review out for this already. And this was quite fun, actually. I really enjoyed this anthology a lot. I don't say that just because I have a story in here. It's something I maybe wouldn't have picked up, though, if I didn't have a story in here. Because generally when I go for anthologies, I tend to go for sword and sorcery type stuff, and this is not really that. So yeah, but it's good. You should try it. Tell me if my story sucks. And then I read Joel Shepard's Breakaway. This is the second Cassandra Kresnov novel. I had just finished writing my novella that was partially inspired by the character Cassandra Kresnov. So I was like, I should read more Cassandra Kresnov. So Breakaway, quite fun, different than the first book. So I'm actually kind of in the middle of the third one. I've been in the middle of it for a while. I've put down a lot of books recently, not because I don't like them, but because I'm so busy and I just need to be really gripped by the fiction I'm reading to want to read it right now. And then I read Tim Powers' Distress for Regards, the first Tim Powers book I've ever read. It is about Byron and Shelley and Keats and like Polidori and people like that. It's pretty freaking cool. It's got a bunch of Clark Ashton Smith stuff in it as well. So it's not about him because he wasn't alive yet, but the title of the book is from a Clark Ashton Smith poem. It's just really cool. It's my first Tim Powers. I do look forward to reading more. And then here's one I don't have a physical copy of somehow. It is The Wood Beyond the World. These are in public domain. This is the fourth prose romance by William Morris. When I started my channel, I'd only read the first two. This one was pretty good. I'm going to have a review up for that one, actually, and I liked it a lot. I have thoughts. It was interesting because I was reading it at the same time as Three Hearts and Three Lions, and there's like a similar trio actually kind of going on, which is interesting. There's like the good boy knight thing with the lady maid person and then a dwarf. So this dwarf actually in Wood Beyond the World actually reminded me of Gollum. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was an inspiration, since William Morris, for those unaware, was one of the bigger inspirations for Tolkien. And then I finished Book of the Long Sun with Exodus from the Long Sun. I realized when I finished this, I was like, I missed so much. I'm gonna have to reread this. Like, there's just so much I feel like hidden here that I just didn't understand. But it was really fun and I liked it. I'm looking forward to Short Sun. Have not started it, but I have all of them. And then I read Central Station by Lavi Tidar. This might be my favorite book of the year so far. This book is freaking awesome. It's a fix-up novel, which is cool in of itself. It's just so good. You should read it. It's got data vampires, guys. It's sci-fi. It's like cyberpunk. Hebrew punk, I think is what he calls it. And then I read Nightborn, Coldfire Rising. This book is not out yet. It's an arc. And I got it digitally. It is a prequel to the Coldfire trilogy by C.S. Friedman. I have not read those. It was quite fun, actually. It was so sci-fi rather than science fantasy, which what the trilogy is. I read The Scald. I don't have a physical copy. I don't think there is a physical copy of this book by Gregory Amato. This is a fun little novella prequel to his trilogy, Spear of the God, if I remember correctly. Spear of the Gods. Yeah. I actually have the first book in that trilogy, Burden to Bear. I have not started it yet. Sorry, Greg, if you're watching this, but I've been so busy. I want to start it, actually. I have it up. But I haven't started it yet. I've read, if you've been paying attention in the last couple of weeks, though, and any of you, I've read very little, or less than I normally do. Then House of Chains by Steven Erikson. This one was quite fun. Took a while to get through, obviously, because it's so big. I don't think it's my favorite Malazan book, but I liked it more than Memories of Ice. I'm looking forward to talking about that one and reviewing it when I finally get to it. And then I read Shadow Games by Glenn Cook, because Glenn Cook, I was reading Malazan. Malazan reminds me of Glenn Cook, so I had to read this next. I need to read Silver Spike and Dreams of Steel. Anyways, I enjoyed it a lot, though. I really like The Black Company. Those are some of my favorite books from last year. They made my top 10 if you watched that. Then I read The Wooden Sword by Lynn Abbey. I'm a big fan of Lynn Abbey. I want to get back to her Thieves World, but I really want to finish the sequel to this first. It's another one I just put down. I really like it. I really like this book, honestly. I thought it was ripping. It was like nothing I've ever read before. It kind of comes off as feminist fantasy in a way. It's very interesting. Yeah, and Lynn Abbey's just a great stinking writer, and she's not appreciated enough, I feel like. So, yeah, that is April, though. So for May, the last month, I read Midnight Tides by Steven Erikson, book 5, Malazan Book of the Fallen. The next one is The Bone Hunters. I have not read it yet, just for those who are waiting for me to hold that up next. I haven't read it yet. This is the first book I finished in May, and it's crazy that it's been a month already. How has it been a month already? Anyways, I really, really enjoyed Midnight Tides as well. Different place, different characters, but still really cool. And then I read The Parched Sea by Troy Denning. I just wanted to get back in the Forgotten Realms. I didn't enjoy this one actually as much, but I'm reading the sequel actually right now, and I'm enjoying it. Oh, my books fell. I'm enjoying the sequel though to The Parched Sea. And then I read Night of Knives because that's the way I wanted to read Malazan, is with the ice novels in there, and so I did enjoy this one. It wasn't nearly as gripping as the two I read before that. I'm thinking what I'll do to get me back into the Malazan mood before I read The Bone Hunters is I'll probably read The Lees of Laughter's Inn, or whatever it's called, that Beauclain and Corporal Brooch novella, and then probably go into Bone Hunters from there. So I don't know when that'll be. Maybe when I'm less busy. that might never happen, actually. So no. And then I read The Circumference of the World. Again, this does not come out. This one actually doesn't come out until like September. I don't know why I got an arc so early. But Lavi Tidar, again, really fun. I really liked it. Not as good as Central Station, but I really, really enjoyed this one. It's very thought-provoking, very interesting. Kind of is asking questions. Not really giving answers, but it's asking questions. Then I read another World of Warcraft book with my brother, Beyond the Dark Portal. This one's actually written by two people, Aaron Rosenberg, which I've read one novel of his before, and then Christy Golden, who I've read like 4 novels. I like Golden a lot. This one is not as good, not even close, actually, to Rise of the Horde, but I don't know if any of the other World of Warcraft novels are going to top that. Rise of the Horde was awesome. This is fun, though. And then I read Terry Pratchett's The Light Fantastic. It's fun. I mean, I don't feel like I've enjoyed these Pratchett books as much as I should, but these are probably also the weakest ones, these first ones. So I'm really looking forward to Mort. I feel like I'll like Mort, but I could be wrong. So Light Fantastic was fun. And then I read the first part of Goethe's Faust play. I have the second part, haven't read that yet. It's much longer than this one's, like twice the length. So I enjoyed this. It's very romantic. If you want to get an idea of romanticism, maybe read Goethe's Faust or watch it. I guess you could. So yeah, really good. And then the Tolkien biography by Humphrey Carpenter. Yeah, this is actually really cool. I started it forever ago. Finally got to actually finishing it. And then more Tolkien. I read his Battle of Malden and the Homecoming of Bearnuth. This was really awesome to kind of help me get back into some of my philological studies. And it's new. I think it just came out in the United States, or maybe is just about to. I ordered my copy from England. And then I read Lord Dunsany's The King of Elfland's Daughter. My first novel by Dunsany, the second thing I've read by him. I read one short story before. I think I'll probably reread this one because I actually am doing a project on this one. I got to choose the book again, so that's why I read a good one. It had to be on something I hadn't read before, though. And then I read Shane by Jack Schaefer. I don't have a physical copy for this. It's a novella, like Western. The gimmick is that it's told from the point of view of a boy. It's like 12, I think, or 13. And yeah, so I watched some clips of the movie and I did not like the movie. So, and then the last book, funnily enough, showing the variety of stuff I read somehow, is North Angel Abbey by Jane Austen. I like this one a lot more than Pride and Prejudice. This is basically just my weekly update, my last weekly update. These last few books right here. So, oh, my other pile fell. Oops. But yeah, I think this will be my Wednesday video. I realize it's like a week after the end of May, but I put my videos out on Wednesday, and so like there's not much I can do there because last Wednesday was the last day of May. I think maybe next Wednesday I'll do a video on an introduction to philology. I'm giving a presentation to the Humanities Society at school this week on an introduction to philology, and I was thinking maybe I'll just do that same presentation to you guys, basically. If that's, I don't know, I might second guess myself and not, because I've actually made a philology video before and I deleted it. I never even uploaded it, I should say. So I just deleted it once I recorded it. But yeah, so like that's the stuff I like a lot, but it's not exactly booktube, so to speak. So, but that's all the stuff I read. That's 36 books. I got through this a lot quicker than I normally do. So sorry if you want to know more. Just ask me about any of these books. I'll tell you if you don't want to wait until the reviews. Or you could join the Discord and talk about it, I guess. I'll try to make sure that the link is updated. It expires often. I don't have Nitro or anything. So yeah. Anyways, this has been Liam Williams Lyceum. I don't even know why I make these videos, to be completely honest, guys. Like, this booktube thing. Why do I make so many videos? Anyways, okay.